Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about Mars in the third house of the natal chart. Now, some of you may remember when I first started my YouTube astrology channel, I did a series on the Mars placements and houses, and they're a little bit concise, and some people may refer to them as snappy. So, what I decided to do was make another series on them in which the videos would be a little bit longer and more descriptive. So anyway, first thing, well, Mars in the third house is comparable to Mars in Gemini, but naturally you've got to blend in the zodiac sign of this. Now, let's say if Mars is in Gemini in the third house, and then compared to Mars in Sagittarius in the third house, naturally there would be a difference between the two. Mars in astrology is connected with our drive and motivation. So when you have Mars in the third house in the natal chart, well, there may be a lot of intense drive and motivation toward matters with communication, assimilating and disseminating information, um, being inquisitive, asking questions, being able, activities, with siblings, cousins, and neighbors as well. When you have this placement, even if your chart generally, seems to be rather, passive and, very, real like tactful and diplomatic, you have a, dominant Libra, influence as an example. But if you have Mars in the third house, you'll be, likely more outspoken in your communications than what the rest of the chart may say, because I have this. And I have, relatively passive chart with a strong, Taurus, Cancerian influence. But, in my speech, I can be, rather direct and outspoken at times. And so, now another thing, about this placement, okay, Mars in astrology is connected with our vitality and energy. So a lot of that vitality and energy may go into short journeys, vehicles. It could be working on vehicles. You may be someone that expends a lot of energy using manual dexterity, being able to fix, cars, trucks, or refrigerators. There could be a lot of activity involving the hands, and also to driving as well. Again, it goes back to short journeys. You may have expended more energy during your early education than most people on average. Activities that involve siblings, cousins, and neighbors. It just may be a lot of vitality in manifold things in general. And you may want to, you may, times you find, figure out you may be doing more than one thing at once, or it may seem like that because, this is where this placement can indicate a lot of energy, being dispersed into many different things. Now, Mars in astrology is also associated with physical injuries, and I have this placement again. I've had some injuries into my hands. I've got nerve damage there. You know, um, it's also the arms as well. So physical injuries, when you have Mars positive in the third house, can involve the hands, the arms, the nerves, lungs, breathing. It can be through accidents in a vehicle, just impulsive, this placement, I believe, would indicate, impulsive movements. So because the third house is the house of mobility, Mars is connected with accidents. So you need to be careful, with this placement and think before, actually, taking actions. And it could also, physical injuries may have more of an impact on rational thinking, on the rational mind, more so than most placements. Now, Mars in astrology is also associated with our actions. So there may be a lot of action, a lot of activity in matters pertaining to short journeys, with communication, disseminating and assimilating information, just asking questions, being inquisitive. Matters with the early education. This is where may have had use. You may be very active in these areas, and also this is having this placement as well. The third house is also is connected with hidden adversaries of the less dominant parent, which is often the mother. So if you're the kind of person that is able to spot people that are impersonating themselves as friends, in this case, you know, um, people that might be using the less dominant parent and real pretend to be friends but are really not. You may be likely to take action, pull the person out on this quicker than most people on average. And the thing about this too, it's also when you have Mars positive in the third house in the natal chart. Mars is about sex or sexual partners, so you may be attracted to somebody that may be younger than you or has like childlike kind of qualities. A person may be mercurial, whimsical, versatile. You may be someone that likes variety, in the sexual department. You might be someone that might, you might see one person as being monotonous after a certain amount of time. Um, Also, it could be maybe you have a thing for sex in cars, in vehicles. It could be where you used your hands a little bit more sexually than most people on average. And it could be that you like sex in a very fast manner because keep in mind the third house is the house that corresponds with the zodiac sign Gemini. And this placement can give analytical and active kind of mind. Details may not always be essential to this person. This person may like to get to the heart of the matter when you're speaking, and it's also the person may also be somewhat disputatious and have some number of acrimonious disputes with others. Now, Mars in astrology is connected with our physical strength. So you have Mars positive in the third house. Well, you may use a lot of that physical strength. Matters with vehicles, with manual dexterity. There was one time it could be just moving, using your strength to push vehicles, and I can remember when I've done this, a number of times. It could be my Mars in the third house manifesting, and the thing about this too, it's a placement where you may wind up using your physical strength to help neighbors, assist cousins, siblings if you do have any, and being able to do. You may have been called on to use this more in your early education, more so than the average person during that time period. And could be too where as far as Mars goes. In astrology, Mars is connected with anger. So, there may be more anger, or you may become more agitated over issues with the vehicle. It could be in matters with siblings, cousins, and neighbors. The situation with neighbors at some point may have been contentious or combative. Um, you have to be careful too, this because you may become more angry in matters pertaining to gossip, to slander, more so than most people on average. And there may be, issues as stated about having possible issues with neighbors that could apply to siblings or cousins. Sometimes I would say this placement might, it might reject having siblings be, and I have Mars in the third house, and I don't have any siblings. I'm not saying that's the case everybody. I'm sure there's a lot of people with Mars in third house and that have siblings, but what it is because Mars is the planet of combat, it's adversarial. So sometimes it could manifest in that. It's also the ruler of my 12th house of limitations, so that may be, I'd say that's playing a role too, me not having any brothers or sisters. But anyway, well, another thing about Mars in astrology is connected with enthusiasm. So you may be you may have been very enthusiastic about matters pertaining to your early education, short journeys, local transportation, matters with cars, trucks. Could be fixing vehicles using dexterity. You may have been very enthusiastic just about learning things, mental stimulation, even could be cerebral competition of some sort. It could be like playing Trivial Pursuit even. Matters that activities that involve siblings, cousins, and neighbors. This is where a lot of exuberance and enthusiasm may be shown or may have been shown at some point in time. Anyway, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.